I'm going to start the record. What you're looking at is my screen. And if I open up a drawing tablet, you're seeing probability of A and B divided by the probability of A. In other words, whatever I write on this thing, you should be able to see. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, there's two ways we can handle your Math Excel. One, if you want to send me the URL and your username and password, I'll log into it on my end, and I will answer all the questions that you and I come up with. The other way is for you to just verbalize the problem. I'll write it, we'll solve it, and then you input it on your end. Whichever way you would prefer.
I can just give you the account details if that helps.
I'll tell you what, here's the best way to do it. If you go into your GoToMeeting window, copy and paste the URL. You see where down there under the chat where it says enter message?
Yeah.
Copy and paste the URL of Max Excel into that spot. And I'll open it up, and then you can give me the username and the password, and I'll enter it, and then we'll both be looking at it. In order to copy it, there you go. Now, if I open that up, it's just going to open it. All right. We want to sign in here. What's your username? You want to...
The user, do you want me to type it to you or just tell you?
Oh, probably typing is more accurate. Go ahead and type it. Just because I might miss it.
Be able to copy and paste it over?
Yeah, let me paste that in there. And then same with the password. Cool. All right. And I think we're done with... You can shrink the GoToMeeting. Notice at the upper right, not the X, but the two arrows touching.
Oh, okay.
If you click on that, that's a toggle switch which kind of minimizes the control panel, which you don't really need open anymore.
Right.
Gives you a little more room to see stuff. So I assume we want to hit Enter Math XL for school?
Correct.
All right. Which assignment?
It should be the one on Sunday, or...
Need to go to homework and tests?
No, that just gets confusing. Do you see where the arrow is on Sunday?
Yeah.
I need help on the last part of 11.3.
Dividing polynomials?
Correct.
Okay, which question should we start at?
Let's see, the dividing, I can do the multiplying by the inverse, but there's somewhere it's dividing polynomials by binomials.
Okay.
And that's where I get lost at. And I think it might be
we're probably going to have to do the long division. In other words, when you gave me the first one at the library the other day, I was so into long division of polynomials that I just dove in that direction when that wasn't the easiest way to go. The easiest way to go was to multiply by the reciprocal.
Right. But now that it's binomial, we can't.
Which problem is like that? Is it question 6?
I think it might be question 10.
Okay. Now, first of all, let me get it loaded up there before I open both of these windows at once. Okay, good. Let's see, I want to map that to the right and click on that. I'm getting used to Windows version 10 here. I just got it recently. Upgraded.
I still haven't got one.
Upgraded from Vista, which is a huge upgrade.
Yeah, it is.
All right. First of all, let's take a look at that. And it's possible that this is a factoring problem. In fact, let's write it properly. In other words, let's put the highest degree first. 6y squared minus 9y plus 6, all divided by 2y plus 1. So the question is 2y going to be a factor? 2y plus 1. And if it is, everything will be copacetic. If it isn't, we're going to have to do the long division, like I was attempting to show you. Notice that in long division, we would have no dummy variables required. We have everything we need in the denominator and everything we need in the numerator. We have a y squared, a y, and a constant. But the numerator does look like it factors. What's the first factor? What's the greatest common factor I can take out?
Of the 2y?
Well, out of the numerator.
Numerator, top. So, let's see, you can take out a 3.
Yeah, that's always the first step, is to see if there's anything you can factor. What's left?
If you take out the 3, there would be 2y squared minus 3y plus 2.
Okay. We're still dividing by this denominator, but I'm going to try to factor that part that's in parentheses, and I'd almost bet anything that that's one of the factors. Now, when you're factoring a quadratic, it's a trial and error process for sure. It's not one of the factors. Hold on a minute. It's got to be minus and minus. So it's got to be that. And that does not give you that middle term. And if I switch these and make that 2 and make that 1, I still don't get this middle term. So the top one does not factor. In other words, I pretty much tried all combinations. There's only 2 factors for the number 2. So I can either try the 2 here and the 1 here, or vice versa. And neither one produces that unless I'm doing it. Am I making a mistake? I don't think so. No. This way produces 5y in the middle. And if I put a 2 here and a 1 there, I get 4y in the middle. Okay?
Yeah.
So the fact that it doesn't factor means I cannot do it an easy way. I'm going to have to do the long division.
Right.
Long division isn't that hard.
Well, it's kind of easy when I do it with you right now, or when I do it with someone else watching, because it seems so simpler. But then when I go, let's say, to take a pop quiz like we had today, then it looks a lot harder than it really is.
I understand. I understand the psychology that's going on there. Ideally, you'll be able to get to a point where you can do it as easily on a test as you can with me. So the best thing we can possibly do is just practice it and drill you on it, and so that you get so good at doing these that there'll never be any question about it. What's the first step?
The first step is to take the 2y and they figure out what it multiplies to 6y squared, which would be 3y.
Right. You're dividing it into 6y squared is what you're doing.
Correct.
Okay, and you're right. That's 3y. And now what?
Now you multiply the 3y by the 2y plus 1 to get 6y squared minus 3y.
Plus 3y? Correct?
Plus 3y. Right.
I got it right, don't I? Yeah, it's 1 plus 2y. Okay, and now what?
And then now you subtract.
Okay.
It's going to be negative 6y.
No, we got minus 9y minus 3y. In other words, here's what we're looking at. Minus 9y minus a plus 3y. Well, that's the same as minus 9y minus 3y.
Right.
That's minus 12y.
Negative 12y.
The key when you're doing this long division is we're always subtracting. See that big subtraction sign?
Uh-huh.
Make sure you're always subtraction. In other words, there's always a subtraction sign there. So it's minus 9y minus whatever this is. Okay, and now what?
And now you've divided the 2y into the 12y, negative 12y.
Well, first you bring down the 6.
Bring down the 6.
Bring down the next term. And now what? Start all over again.
And then now you take the 2y into the negative 12y.
Which is?
Negative 6.
Okay.
And then you multiply the negative 6 by the 2y plus 1.
Now what?
And now I'm going to see plus.
Now subtract.
And that's it, just 3y minus 6, right?
No, 6 minus 6 is 0. But 6 minus a negative 6 is plus 12.
So
here's what we have. In this last step, we have 6 subtracting a negative 6. You see that? Why that's the case?
oh, okay.
Which is plus 12. So we have a remainder of 12. Okay?
Okay.
Now, how can I write that? How do I write the remainder?
You put the remainder over the original,
Right,
over
and
the dividing line.
plus 12, so I'm going to add that fraction. 12 over 2y plus 1. That should be our answer. And
right.
You can't any longer split that up into two fractions like we were doing at the library on those, because we have a binomial term in the denominator. So I can't even simplify that at all. So that should be our answer. Let me see if I can get it in there properly. 3y minus 6 plus 12 divided by 2y plus 1. And I want to hit check answer. Or is there another option there for presenting?
You can use a check answer, or for a shortcut you can push enter.
Okay. So that worked. At first, when I looked at what we were doing here, it looked like it was going to come to be 0, because I made the same mistake you did. I saw that 12y minus 6, and I thought, oh, that's 0, which means I must have done something wrong in my factoring, because this should have factored. And then I realized, we had a 12 remainder, so it shouldn't have factored, and it didn't.
Can I give you give you a problem that was on the pop quiz today?
Absolutely.
It was 5t minus 10 divided by t squared minus 4.
This is going to be a little easier, because this will factor top and bottom.
That's what I tried to do.
What can you factor out of the top?
The 5.
What is left?
5, and then in parentheses t minus 2.
Okay, there's your clue. Can we find a t minus 2 in the bottom? That's the difference of perfect squares.
Right.
When you have the difference of perfect squares, learn to recognize it, because you're going to see it a lot. The education system loves difference of perfect squares. What does it factor into? T squared minus 4.
this is the part where I had trouble with.
Okay, let's go through it. A squared minus b squared. There's the difference of perfect squares. Always factors into a minus b times a plus b. Okay, so we're looking at a squared minus 2 squared. So a is t, b is 2. And then once you get the first part, the other is just the conjugate of it. T plus 2, always. Okay, so the way you get this first term is you take the square root of that minus the square root of that. And if you're looking at the difference of perfect squares, then those will be whole numbers. Okay, now it's pretty straightforward. That cancels with that, and you're left with 5 over t plus 2. And that's your answer.
Okay.
So
I had something similar.
It's always kind of a first option because to me it's a little easier than doing the long division. But it has to be factorable, like the last one was not. If it doesn't factor so that you can cancel something out, it's not very helpful either. So first thing I look for is to see if one of these factored terms is going to cross out. And I can immediately see that I'm going to have a t minus 2 here, and one of these factors is t minus 2. So,
right.
Okay.
There was some longer division one, or I think it was longer multiplication ones, and I wasn't sure if I should. Here, I'll just list it to you. It's x squared. X squared plus 6x plus 9 over 2x squared minus 18, and then a whole other fraction now multiplied, all of that multiplied by 3x minus 9 over 4x.
These kind of problems are always factoring problems. There's 4 parts, and it doesn't really matter whether that's a division or a multiplication. If it's a division, we're just going to flip and multiply, right?
Right.
So division problems are going to basically be the same as multiplication problems. In fact, we should look at division problems as always being the same as multiplication. We can do all division problems by flipping and multiplying. But in this case, we don't need to because it's being multiplied. So start in the upper left and factor.
That would be, let's see.
Do these methodically. Rather than trying to figure out what it is all in one step, start by splitting up the x squared. X and x.
Right.
Next step, figure out both signs. What do both signs have to be?
Plus, positive.
Plus, plus. Finally, figure out what? Factors of 9 that add, right, because of that plus sign, to the number 6.
So 3 and 3.
Okay, so that's factored. What can you factor out of the bottom left?
You can factor a 2.
Leaving
x squared minus, let's see, 9.
What is that called again?
Difference of squares.
And how does it factor?
So then it would be x minus 9 for one of them.
X minus 3. You're always taking the square root of each.
Oh, you take the square root
of
each? Okay.
Notice
so
why. Because on the other side is x plus 3. Notice that if I FOIL these two things together, the last term is minus 3 times plus 3. That's where I get my 9.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to erase this because I replaced it with its factored version. I'll put the 2 in a better spot so we don't forget it. Now, let's not do anything yet. Now factor the top right.
Where did the 2 come from?
It was there. We factored it out the very first thing. Remember you took 2 out and we were left with x squared minus 9?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't carry that down. And that
yeah, you carry it down. Make sure you don't drop it. It's real easy to drop it when you've done that. And again, the most important process in mathematics is to make sure you check. Is that the same as that? Yes. And is that the same as that? Again, yes. And you should be doing that step every single stage of the way. In other words, after you've factored it, you don't necessarily have to multiply that back together again, because that's a long process, and I'm sure there's a time factor on your tests. But
right.
In essence, you want to know that this times this has to be that. And if you had all the time in the world, that would be one way of verifying that you don't make any mistakes, is check it after every step. And it's much easier to check it after every step than it is at the end of the problem. Because you get to the end of the problem and you get a mistake or something that doesn't look right, you don't know where you made your mistake. You got to go all the way back to the first step. So checking along the way, to me, is a hugely important process. Now, what can I factor out of the numerator on the right side?
3's. So minus 3, x minus 3.
Okay. Can't really do anything with the bottom. So, I mean, it's 4 times x, regardless of how many ways I look at it. Okay, now we want to get the canceling. So cancel anything, any binomial term that's the same. In other words, this x plus 3 can cancel with that x plus 3.
And that x minus 3
can cancel with that one. Leaving us what? What is our numerator now? In factored form.
X plus 3 over 2.
Well, 3 times x plus 3, that's what we have left in the numerator, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we have this term and we have this term. And what do we have in the denominator?
2 and 4x.
So what's that combined to?
6x.
8x. It's 2 times 4x.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay? Remember, we're multiplying here. And that's going to be your answer. 3 times x plus 3 over 8x. And I cannot simplify that anymore. I could split it into 2 fractions, but I don't know that that's necessarily what they would want. You know what I'm saying? Splitting it into, because the denominator is a single term, I could make it look like this. But in order to do that, I would actually have to distribute it. So the first thing I'm going to have is this over 8x. Well, I can make that look like 3x over 8x plus 9 over 8x. And that looks like 3 over 8 plus 9 over 8x. So there's another way the answer might look.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you have to...
I don't know which one they want. When we were doing it on your Math Excel at the library, I noticed sometimes they did this. And other times they didn't even like multiplying the 3 times this factor. They wanted it in fully factored form. So I'm guessing that this would be the answer they would want.
Right. But when you made the new answer, or showed it in different form, there isn't an x in the numerator.
These x's are canceled out. That one cancels with that one. Notice I have 3x over 8x, which turns into 3 over...
Right answer.
Okay.
Yeah. But both would be the right answer in either case.
Both are the same answer. It's just a form. I've never fully understood what form Math Excel likes their answers in. That's what's difficult about it, because as you can see, there's 3 different answers. There's this answer over here. Actually, that's the one I think they want, the one on the left. This one here, I think that's the answer they would want. Because we tried distributing the numerator once yesterday, and it said, no, that's not correct. Give it in factored form. So I'm thinking that they want 3 times x plus 3 all over 8x as an answer. Not this other one that I circled. But all 3 of these are correct. This one is the same as this one down here, and they're both the same as that one right there that the arrow is pointing to.
Okay.
Okay. You probably are going to get a better feel for exactly what format they want it in than me, but from what I can remember of the Excel that we did at the library, this is what they tended to look for, is the numerator to be factored, not multiplied out.
Just factored completely.
Right, and this is 3 times x plus 3, as opposed to distributing that and ending up with 3x plus 9. They didn't like it when we did that once.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you have any others? We've only got about 6 minutes, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of wiggle room today because I have a 4:30 session.
Right.
If I don't have a session afterwards, I'm always happy to stay an extra few minutes, or even if you need a full extra half hour, I can do it occasionally. But unfortunately, not today. I was booked from 3 to 9.
Oh wow, you're busy then.
I am. But we do have time for another one. You want to check out another one on Math Excel, or do you want to read me one?
Another one on Math Excel. I'm kind of out of ones now.
Okay.
Those were just from my memory from earlier.
Okay, let's see. That was 10. You want to do 6, 7, 8, or 9, or do you want me to? Do you remember which one?
I think 9 gave me a hard time on Sunday.
Let's go to 9.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Well, you can see that if it factors, it's worth doing. It'll make it easier than doing the long division. Question is there any way this can possibly factor where one of the factors in the numerator is 5a plus 6? Hold on a minute. I got it. I didn't even write it properly. Let me write it in order. In other words, the way we're used to saying quadratics, which is minus 4a minus 11. Is there any way the top one factors into something that would look like 5a plus 6?
I don't think so.
No, it can't. Because what could the other factor be? Whatever the other factor would be would have to multiply 6 to get 11. In other words, the only possible factors of this numerator would be minus 11 and plus 1, or plus 11 and minus 1, and neither one of them produce that. So there's not much sense in spending time trying to factor it. Let's go straight into the long division. And this would be a good one for you to do. So I think we just about have enough time for this. You may have to input the answer. Just because that's half the chore when you're dealing with Math Excel. Okay, go through the steps with me.
So 5a squared multiplies, or sorry, 5a multiplies into 5a squared by multiplying by a. And then you multiply 5a squared by 5a plus 6. So that would be 5a squared plus 6a. And now it's negative 4 minus 6a. So then that would be just 2a, I think?
No, negative 4 minus 6. Another helpful hint for subtraction: if subtraction gives you any problem at all, turn all your subtraction problems into addition problems. And you do that by taking the subtraction sign, changing it to a plus, and then changing the sign on what is being subtracted. Like that. Now, nobody has any problems with that. What's minus 4 plus a minus 6?
Negative 10.
That's what goes there, negative 10a.
Okay. And then you bring down the negative 11. And 5a goes in negative 10a, negative 2 times. And then multiply negative 2 by 5a to get negative 10. And that would be negative 12. And then negative 11.
These always are going to cancel. If you've done the problem correctly, notice they always cancel. In other words, one minus the other one, it's the same thing. So that's always going to be 0. But what's minus 11 minus a minus 12?
1.
Okay. So what's the rest of our answer? That's not completely it.
It's a minus 2, and the remainder is 1 over 5a plus 6.
Plus. You have to put in the plus.
Plus.
Otherwise it won't. In other words, when I tried to put in r, and it didn't like r. But the fact of the matter is the remainder is being added to the rest of your answer. Okay? So, let's put that in. Again, there's really no other way to put in that answer, so I'm fairly certain on this one. A minus 2 plus 1 divided by 5a plus 6. Check answer. Awesome. Well done.
Okay. Well, thanks. That helps a lot.
Good. And let's see, we have another online, and then we have an in-person on Sunday.
That sounds about right.
Okay, cool. I think our online's on Thursday. I'll speak to you then.
Sounds good.
And to turn off GoToMeeting, just click on the X in the upper right.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Also, one last thing. Did I get your email address?
I don't think so. It is in the chat, though.
Problem is I don't even have time to write. And I need it so that I can send you the link to the recording.
Okay.
Can you read it to me quickly?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's all lowercase James.
Go ahead.
Andrews. And then 1212 at gmail.com.
Oh, that's pretty easy. Okay. By tomorrow morning, I will send you a link where you can look at the recording of this and review it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
James, I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.